Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Live Your Spa Life show. Spa life is a lifestyle that accepts that accomplishment and harmony coexist. The spa and spa life, the SPA, is for seek power always, that power within you to do your deeper work in the world. I am so thrilled to have my special guest today, Billy Yamaguchi. He is such an embodiment of having harmony and peace in your life, and it's such a great aspect of what he does. He is labeled as the Deepak Chopra of Feng Shui, and Billy is the founder of Feng Shui Beauty. And for those of you who are actually watching versus just listening, I'm actually going to hold up one of his original books, which was Feng Shui Beauty in 2004. And we'll talk a little bit about the story about how I came across that book from my stylist way back in the day. And he also has developed a series of salons throughout Southern California and is a featured monthly guest. Now listen to this. This man gets around. It is in Austin, Texas, Maui, Oahu, and San Diego, as well as other luxury resorts. So many resorts are so fortunate to have Billy as a guest artist to come do the work with him. And as an international guest artist for print and runway, Billy developed his own product line and speaks to the importance of the first 3-second impression. We're going to get into that, as well as becoming the CEO of you. His beautiful wife, who is a friend of mine, who I just love, and you will get to see her in her own episode, Melissa, who is a firecracker in her own right. They have raised 2 entrepreneurial spirits in their daughter, Seiji, and their son, Nobu. Billy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Phil. It's great to be on your show, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it is just, I always look at there's a synergy and just a synchronistic aspect of being able to connect with people. I met Melissa like 4 or 5 years ago from a friend of ours, Laura Gisborne, at her event, and I hadn't had the opportunity to connect with you. And I happened to, when on the day that you were a guest salon person in San Diego, to connect with you, and I recognized you not only from the book, but with your name. And I had asked you if you knew Melissa, and that's where we got to connect. And it was just so beautiful to have that conversation with you, and for you to really connect with me and then become my stylist, as my hairstylist of 20 years retired at that same year that we connected. So just the timing of that. And she was the one who actually gave me your book back when it came out in 2004. So it's so amazing how these things come around and how people connect in the world. And I would love for you to share, how is it that you brought maybe talk a little bit about Feng Shui and how you brought it into you just being a disruptor in the hair industry of bringing it to hair and beauty?
Well, it started definitely with Melissa. I was already being coached by a number of world champion hairdressers. And Melissa had shared with me that I was feng shuiing people, and I didn't even know it. And I grew up my first 11 years in Japan and then 6 years in Germany. So when I was growing up in Japan, my grandfather from Japan was always sharing with me about, not always, but sharing with me a little bit about feng shui, about how the sun should rise and hit the front door, and then the sun should end in the back. And I didn't know how it was going to pertain to my life until Melissa was sharing with me about Feng Shui. A lot of people know Feng Shui through like homes and landscaping, but what I'm speaking about is the first home, which is us. And if we are not being the CEO of ourselves, then everything else, can crumble very easily. So I take care of a lot of executives, and they're great at running companies, but lots of times they're terrible at running us. And a lot of people, they know of the word feng shui, but they don't realize what it actually means. F-E-N-G, feng means wind, which is our first breath. And then shui, S-H-U-I, means water, which is 75% of what we are. And so these are 2 things that we need: clean air and clean water. Out of this feng shui came these 5 elements: fire, earth, metal, water, wood. And when I go to the Midwest or I go to any Bible Belt, I need to share with them that this is not a religion, but it's a science that turns itself into an art form. Each of the 5 elements we embody. The fire is basically 3 fingers below our navel area. It's our life force. The earth element, if you've ever gone to a Japanese funeral, it's the ashes that we will go back to. The metal element is not like from hip surgery or my scissors, but it's the 78 minerals we're born with, 44 from the ocean, 34 from the land. We're at least 75% water element, and as we mature, we all are getting dehydrated. So that is why it's so important to not only just drink our water, but eat our water, our fruits and vegetables. The wood element, people will think of the negative, like they'll think of the dead branches, or they'll think of wood furniture, and it's not. It's the greenery. It's a oxygen. So that's how we embody these 5 elements. And each of these elements, we've devised cutting techniques, coloring techniques. There's foods, etc., that are all associated to these 5 elements.
I love that. Well, and you even created your own scissors in order to be able to really create some of these. So, when you first started and didn't have some of these tools, how is it that you evolved into that? I mean, to have a product line, to have scissors, to have these different things, what was your journey to that?
I have to say, being around, again, there's that old saying, who you hang out with is what you turn out to be. And I definitely believe that, going all the way back to my childhood as an athlete. If you want to be a great athlete, you hang around with great athletes. You want to be smart, you normally won't be hanging around with smart people. You want to be a drug addict, lots of times they hang out with the same individuals. So I was around a lot of creativity, a lot of incredible energy. And so seeing a lot of these entrepreneurs come up with different techniques, different ideas, allowed me to think this direction. And as I was much younger in this industry, I saw how hair needed to have more volume for a number of people. So devised a scissor, which is a notching scissor, which we call go, which in Japanese means 5. It has 5 notches, which I can cut into the hair and create some unevenness so that it will create the volume, almost like grass in the fields. The shorter grass will support the longer grass. And as we are all maturing, we are all losing hair. So sometimes I will reduce myself from utilizing that scissor on somebody that might not have as much hair.
Right. Well, I appreciate the fullness that you bring to my hair. People are always like commenting on it, and it's just been fun to just be part of the process of it. It's not just like a cut and run. It's like there's intention around it. There's everything that is so important with that. In fact, I'd love for you to share the importance of the consultation. Because, a lot of times people will sit in a chair and go, oh, can you just trim me, or can you do this or whatever? But you have a very unique process when someone first connects with you.
Yes, I have a 6-step consultation. And the first thing is to ask questions. Is really, really important, because I do believe that the consultation to any form of business is the most important step. So asking the questions, and I will ask 4 powerful questions about the individual, about their personality and their lifestyle traits. The second step, which a lot of hairdressers have a tendency of being challenged with, and that is listening. And listening means yield to advise, or like Austin Powers, zip it. And I think that a lot of us artists have a tendency of wanting to know, we already know what we want to do. And I think that it's really most important to listen to the guest, because if anything, they should know themselves better than us. And then I start to classify, are they fire, earth, metal, water, wood? And then I start to continue to go all the way down to prescribing products, making sure that they go home, because one of the number one things that you hear is people say, oh, I go to the salon, I look great, but then when I leave, it doesn't look, fantastic. And so I think it's very important to make sure that they can duplicate. It's like your hair, it's just you have amazing hair. That white gold hair is, so in right now. Even the younger generation are wanting to try to get that white gold look.
Right. And you're right. The products make such a big difference. And so again, for those who are watching versus listening, you may recognize the symbol of a Yamaguchi product. And, I happen to have the Kabuchi, which is a hair mask, because sometimes we need to have some extra moisture. There's just different things that you want to have, and you don't want to have chemicals or things that are in there that detract from that. So I love just your commitment to a pure line and to be able to have products that support in with the feng shui of it's a totality of service. It's not just a one and done. And, contrary to popular belief, I don't go every month, right? So you'd even mentioned a lot of times, it'll be 5-6 months, in between because of what's needed for my particular hair, whereas somebody else, they may need to come once a month. But really listening to what that person needs and what serves them and what works for them makes a huge difference.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm curious, when you talk about not just being the CEO of yourself, but the first 3-second impression, talk a little bit about that.
Well, what I personally have seen is that, especially in America, we have a tendency of judging. And one of the things in my meditation, or people would call it prayer, is to challenge ourselves not to do that. And it's just unfortunate that we size people up in 3 seconds. I believe that's from my experience. And so I want to give my clients the best 3 seconds. And so when they go to a job interview, they look and feel fantastic. Not just look, but I'm talking about feeling beautiful from the inside out. It's like yourself. You look amazing. You've got that V cut right there. It's elongating your face shape. You look at myself, I have a very oblong face shape. I'm wearing shirts that are up high to shorten up my face, a scarf, anything that's going to bring down that oblong face shape. I mean, most Asians, because I'm half Portuguese, half Japanese, I hit puberty at a later date. And so now that I've got facial hair, that also shortens up my face. So just sometimes the simplest things us artists can actually end up doing in order to enhance or give that person an edge on their look.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we talk about, really designing your life, being very intentional about how you're living, the choices you're making, what are you doing versus living, by default. And you have a mantra of positivity. And you and I've had a lot of discussions around words and the importance of words. I'd love for you to share where that comes from and how do you utilize that in your life?
Well, that also comes from Melissa, which I look forward that you're going to have a great interview also with her. In our home, my wife has the word believe for our 2 children or for our family. We don't have hope, even though we know what hope means, but we have the word believe. I don't come in hoping to give somebody a good hairstyle. I believe I'm going to give somebody a great style. A lot of us don't stop to think about the monkey chatter that goes on in our lives in the morning time or even during the day. Are they yin or are they yang? Are they positive or negative? This is really, really important for us to be conscious. This is why Deepak Chopra is a big endorser of us, because he talks about being conscious. I want people to be conscious of the 5 elements or the 5 senses. I shared with you about fire, earth, metal, water, wood. Please remember touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing, being the CEO of those 5 senses. And so when one of those senses from our mouth are the words, it's really, really important for us to make sure that we're speaking positive words and that we're believing in those words that we're saying to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So important. And, you talk about engaging in activities with people that are on the same path as you.
Yes.
Really explain how you embrace that in your life.
Well, I'm fortunate because I also want to believe in, like I said, words, also goal setting, manifesting, things. I was very fortunate to care for Phil Jackson in 1999 and be with him with, 5 championships. And it went viral that every time I touched his hair before a playoff game, that they won. 2 years ago, I was fortunate to have Sean McVay from the Los Angeles Rams come into our Four Seasons location in Westlake and Feng Shui him. And for whatever reason this year, did not end up caring for Sean. And I'm not saying, and I've said this in the past, that it's about the haircut or the color job. What I am speaking about is who touches you does make a difference. And so my thought would be is that being the CEO of who's touching us, what foods that we're putting in our mouth, what we're watching on TV, what we're listening to. Are we listening to negative gossip, or are we going to listen to positive and uplifting words? To me, these matter.
Right. Absolutely. It's such an important concept. I think sometimes we don't, maybe forget about it is, the amount of touch that we have in the world still. I mean, because so much business is done, online and even social media, a lot of the connection with friends are more remote now. And we're not having that handshake or that embrace or, we talked about when you just put like your hands in somebody's hair, it's just that connection with another
Yes.
person,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's so important. We forget about that. I mean, we know that there's so many statistics around, the babies that are held and,
Yes.
people will come into hospitals with newborns and, just holding them, increases their vitality and has them really thrive. And we don't think about that as we get older, that how important that touch is and that connection and the people that we choose to be with, when we're not only having connection, but people who are being positive, what is the impact that has when people have that continual touch and positivity in their life? What have you noticed with people over time that have worked with you that are really embracing that philosophy of life?
I feel it's almost like they say that, like wood chips, in the fires that, the more wood chips that you put on, the more that flame is going to burn, and it's going to heat up really well. I want to make sure that I have the right tribe, the right pack. And right now, I'm very fortunate because my wife has right-sized our company. And so I have, less around me, but I feel really great because when growing up in Japan, yes, there's a lot of people, but at the same time, again, you want that right size around you. And I feel really great about going to the different locations and sharing, I'd like to say, my gift of touch.
Yes, absolutely. It's definitely a gift. And you are so present with people. That's one of the things I really notice is when I'm with someone that does listen and is present with you. And, I've watched you with people who've come in before and after my service, and you're like that with everyone. Like you just have that continued, presence with someone, which is sometimes a forgotten art, really, to be in that. And I really appreciate that. And I know that there are times where, people can look at the longevity of your career. I mean, how long have you been in the hair business?
I've been doing it for at least 30 years plus. I want to do it for the rest of my life. I know that some people have said, Billy, you've hit it big and, you're going to retire. And I'm going to share with my audience right now, I will never retire from hair because it's almost like when you look in that movie, The Avatar, I feel connected when I'm touching hair or when I'm touching someone. And I'm fortunate because in the beauty business, we get to make a difference in a matter of minutes. When taking care of a lot of doctors that I do, they have to wait for that person to heal themselves. But in the beauty business, we can see that energy change in a matter of minutes. And that right there is really exciting to me. And it feeds my it feeds my body really well. So,
Right.
I mean, I look at Picasso, he painted until, he went to the grave. One of the things my grandfather from Japan said is that, Billy, don't you ever retire. You found your gift. Some people never, which my mother-in-law says, never unwrap their gift in a lifetime. And I get to unwrap my gift every day, which I'm very fortunate about.
Absolutely. It's so important. I say this with a lot of my clients, like you never retire. It's like that's saying like you're retiring from your life force, right? You can shift that, and maybe you're not going into another business, maybe you're volunteering, or, you found your gift and you're living into that, but there's always that next level of life experience and what,
Yes.
excites you and what you're passionate about. And you are so fortunate to have this gift and this passion that you've not, it's, a lot of people go, oh, he was born with that. He had that. Yes, you have a part of that within you, but you cultivated, in so many different ways in your products and in your books and things that you're doing to support people. And some people may look at you and look at like, oh, you've completely, been successful in every area of your life. But some people don't notice along the way that there can be disempowering things on your way to empowerment. And, I'd love for you to touch on that, because people can really,
Okay.
the listeners can really relate sometimes when they hear people being successful, they feel that when they have their own setbacks, that it only happens to them. And it's really important to share the full journey of what's happening with people, because then they can feel the reality in that. And I know you had a situation where you had a CPA that had embezzled money from you.
Yes.
Share a little bit about that and how that disempowered you and how it affected your family and how you moved through that.
Okay. Yes. Years back, actually, it even happened twice. And I liked how Melissa went out and, shared with our community of hairdressers to make sure that they've got the right tribe, the right pack that supports them, attorneys, CPAs, etc. And unfortunate, yes, we had been, taken, and sometimes could look like a setback when possibly it could be a set up. And one of the things that I have learned, and my mother-in-law has always said that, and that was that nobody can take away with what you have up here. And so, and I'm grateful for my father, because my father was always, saying, you can do anything that you put your mind to. And so I just went to work more inside and just started to be the CEO of myself, and just kept on bulldozing, through it. When thinking about that, I try not to think too much about it, but to try to think, forward in life, because that's the direction I'm going, because I can't do anything about it, in the past. And so Diane, I just kept on, moving forward, because when I think about it, like Melissa's always said, Bill, if you think about it, you're just going to keep going backwards. And so all I would say to your audience would be is that, you just keep manifesting. Like right now, we're in the months of December and January, and these are what we call water months. And water in Asia is considered knowledge, money. The body part is from the third eye to the throat. It's the thinker, it's the listener. These are your deep thinkers, like your Deepak Chopras, your Phil Jackson, your Wayne Dyers. And these are the days that we should be doing in December, to be thinking and reflecting about what happened in 2019 that we don't want to bring into 2020. By January, which is still a water month, we should be creating a Pinterest board privately, a vision board. We should be, in Asia, it's writing is also knowledge. I've mentioned to you as a water element. We should be manifesting and visualizing what we want to see in 2020. So as a hairdresser and a speaker, I'm sharing with our audience, that it's important we can manifest, our life somewhat. There's that old saying that people plan and God laughs, but I would have to say that it's important to know that if we don't ask, then we don't receive. So I do believe that I do it every day. I see changes, which I am grateful to be manifesting on my clients every day. And so that's what should be happening, Diane, in December and January as a Feng Shui months. And February, it will be time to be getting grounded. It will be the earth element, and that's the time to be grounded. Melissa has written with Mariel Hemingway about grounding, putting your feet on the ground or the soil or the sand for at least 20 minutes and getting back to Mother Earth is important. So everything that I'm speaking to you about right now, I'm trying to share with the press that I want to be one of the first longevity hairdressers, because I have a lot of clients that are 80 and up. I mean, we're talking about trying to get a new clientele. I always think now, why aren't we taking care of the clients that we have? Because if we keep them living longer, then we can keep taking care of them. The other thing would be is that lots of time like attracts like. And so they're going to tell their friends, hey, go see this person, and they're going to take really great care of you.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. And I love just how there's so much intention and history. I mean, with the Feng Shui and in just your space and in your person and who you are, that it's a through line to all the different aspects of your life and what that looks like. And, we've talked about the importance of your environment and how it really impacts you in so many different ways. And
Yes.
So I would love to know, you have a different experience in your bedroom versus your kitchen versus your office. What is your favorite room in your home and why?
I love I love our house. My wife does an amazing job on taking care of everything. It's like our daughter just came back from the University of Barcelona, and she gets so excited about seeing the house and how it's dressed up. And I'm really grateful for that. Actually, I share with our son, Nobu, whoever you're going to marry, that's your life partner. Challenge yourself to find someone that, has these gifts. And I've just been very fortunate to be with my wife for the last 34 years. I mean, everybody has ups and downs. It rains on all of us. But the thought would be is that how are we going to move forward? So I love all the place, all the rooms in our home. I do love going to my meditation area. Melissa has that all nice and set up with my candles, my incense. It is a place that centers me and allows me to just get quiet from, the everyday life.
Right. Oh, I love that. And I'd like to touch more on you just being this positive disruptor in the world. About you really had some courage when people were telling you no. When you had introduced this whole concept of Feng Shui in the business, people were telling you it can't happen. You can't put, the business of the beauty industry with Feng Shui. How is it that you just continue to refuse to accept that and move past that, because you had a lot of negativity in the beginning. People were thinking you were nuts, and this is what is such a huge thing and impact that you've made in the world. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I remember one of the editors for Allure magazine. I remember her saying to me, Billy, at first, I thought that this was just a trend, that you were just talking about this Feng Shui beauty, but I see how it's developed legs. And the legs that she ended up getting to see is that, yes, she got to see the cutting technique, the coloring techniques, but she didn't realize on, basically the 5 elements had, different aromas, different foods, different body type parts, for yoga, Feng Shui yoga. Matter of fact, Melissa's working with Mariel Hemingway, and we're doing a Feng Shui yoga, because it works on every single different body part. Or when somebody's doing strength training, what body part are we going to actually work out? It has foods, it has months. And so, yes, now that people are starting to understand, and that was just an important part from my part to try to share with the world on where I was coming from. Just like I shared with you minutes ago about going to certain areas that thought this was very religious, and I shared with them fire, earth, metal, water, wood means touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing. These all have different personality types. Fire people are very, very, not all of them, there's yin and yang, please, in all the 5 different elements. You had the Malibu fires, and then you have, maybe some death or a breakup, or somebody has got a divorce, the fire is going to be low. So you've got these different personality traits. And then the earth element, you got somebody who's very nurturing, very caregiving. You have somebody who's very metal. These are your CEOs, your executives. You've got your water clients, such as your Phil Jacksons, who came from Chicago, where he was very ruly. And now you look at Phil, he's had the soul patch cut up. And then you've got your wood people that are like myself. They're very social, very playful. They're very competitive at whatever they're doing. And as they started to realize that these 5 elements, which is Feng Shui, which are 2 things that we need, clean air and clean water, because they didn't know what Feng meant or what Shui meant. But as they got educated on it, then it became a reality of like, this is making sense to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just so amazing. And I know that people are going to want to connect with you. And I know that you have a special offer for people who connect with you, who listen to the show, that connect with you through Instagram. You want to share a little bit about that?
Well, you remember how I just started off, I was sharing with you that, and it said that's about like almost 20 years ago to the press, that I believe that high touch and high tech are going to merge. And I get to see it, but at the beginning of this whole challenge right here, you can see that I'm definitely in the high touch business, not the high tech. But I'm challenging myself in the social media area. I'm, slowly growing, but I like it that way, that I'm growing slowly, but I will grow strong. So I'm definitely doing the Instagram, the FaceTime, and I will now focus a lot on our product line, because we've had so many staff members that I've coached throughout the years that one of the writers was saying, well, why didn't you work on it, years ago? And I said, I was too busy educating and coaching that staff. And now that I don't have them, I am working on our product line, giving it a new facelift or cosmetic work. So people can look, towards that. Our sake hairspray, all of our products, from the kabuki that you just showed, the mask, it's just, the products are fantastic, and we've had them for like 30 years.
Oh, so amazing to be able to have that and get that out in the world. And, you'd mentioned, we'll put all this in the show notes so people will be able to connect with you on Instagram. And for the listeners, make sure that you connect with Billy on Instagram, with Billy as well as myself. And, if you connect with Billy on Instagram and you put in the comments the Live Your Spa Life show, he'll know then that you listened on the show and you've offered to give a complimentary online feng shui of beauty consultation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that is so generous of you to do that, because just knowing that consultation and how you want to show up in the world, maybe you'll work with Billy and maybe he'll, direct you to someone in your own hometown, but to have that is just a fun thing to be able to do. So thank you for that.
Oh, with pleasure, because to me, again, that's where it all starts, with that, consultation, getting to know the personality type and the lifestyle trait. Some people have said that my consultation is almost like that Myers-Briggs or that DISC, but I'll share with them that it's the first 5,000, 4,000-year-old Myers-Briggs or disc from back when.
Yes, absolutely. It's very comprehensive, and it's enlightening too, to just see what parts of your personality come out and how you utilize that to show up in the different areas of your life. So I'm excited for you all to take that test. You definitely want to do it. Give you some insights of what you're doing. And any final thoughts for the audience, Billy?
Yes, to look forward to our book in 2020 that I feel like it's been on the editing, for quite some time. My mother-in-law really is a great writer. It's called Energy Unleashed. And like I was sharing with you about how some people never unleash their gifts, this will give them some affirmations, some understanding of what element are they working on today, because I deal with the two elements that are what we call fluctuating elements. Melissa deals with the 6 elements that stay fixed and still. And what I mean by that is that the month, the day, the year, the time, the season, the period you come into the world, Melissa deals with those, and I deal with the 2 that are fluctuating, which are your personality and your lifestyle traits. So you can look forward to all of that and more. I'm just excited about that book because it's the power of words.
I can't wait. And Patricia is a gem, your mother-in-law, and I'm so excited to see, that coming out into the world. And I just want to thank you for taking the time. I know you're so busy on such a whirlwind schedule, and we really appreciate you taking the time to connect with me and our audience. So thank you so much.
I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my words, with your whole pack, your tribe. So I truly thank you and wish everybody great health, prosperity, and abundance for 2020.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. We're all looking forward to being part of 2020, to have that perfect vision to see where we're going, 2020 vision. And I want to just thank our listeners for, taking the time, which is your most precious resource, to be with us. And if you have any questions or insights or comments, we would love for you to tag both Billy and I in whatever social platform that you use. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Definitely follow Billy, and you'll hear about the new book that's coming out, as well as myself. Please subscribe to the show, because that is how we get the word out. And if this inspired you in any way, we'd love to have your 5-star rating and to put and any comments of a review of the impact that you're having, and to share this with your friends and to get out there, because this is how we make our impact in the world, is creating community and having this type of positivity of words and harmony that we're bringing into the experience that we're all having. And so with that, I would love to just encourage you to have a beautiful day. And until we connect again, live your spa life. Bye for now.